right, hold
Oh,
tight. Here we. I'm gonna play the music first. Your
okay,
commercial.
cool.
Tune in every Thursday at 11 a.m. on WSAN Radio for the Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, where real conversations lead to real change. Joseph Lee is a licensed therapist with over 15 years of experience, and each week he brings practical guidance, clear insight, and solutions you can use to navigate stress, anxiety, relationships, family pressures, and the challenges we're facing in today's world. Today's discussion pulls from Psychology Today magazine and other trusted resources because your mental health matters and your community matters. Have a topic you want us to cover? Reach out to WSAN Radio and let's talk. Let's break the silence, strengthen our families, and make a positive impact together. The Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, Thursdays at 11 a.m., only on WSAN Radio, the soul of America and beyond.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We have Joseph Lee back. Yes, he is back, and he is got a lot of stuff to share with us. He thought we were live a little while ago, but we're okay. We're okay the way things happen. You did mention one thing, and I'm gonna let you know something that I said on my morning show that you just said. I said on my morning show, you can't control everything that happens, but you can control how you respond. And I said that this morning, and you brought it up. I said, he didn't know I even said that this morning. Isn't that funny how things just work out?
Yeah, it's very important to understand that with everything that's going on right now, I think there seems to be a push to try to make folks feel helpless, like they can't do anything. And you know, the one thing that you can understand in psychology, the one thing that I teach people with REBT, rational motor behavior therapy. Shout out to one of my mentors, rest in peace, Kai Cole, with rational motor behavior therapy. He said, you know, a lot of people go through things and they don't understand what their power is. So your power is in how you respond. You're 100% in control of how you respond. So with all these things that are going on, with all these things that are happening in the news, you know, you can kind of feel overwhelmed, you know, feel like, what can I do? You know, to put the critical things aside for a moment, you can work on your area, your sphere of influence, and try to strengthen your village, as we have talked about many times, you know, on the show, and going back to where we were focused on building the village is how we're going to, you know, survive this time. And I'm reminiscing, you know, reminiscing on Auburn Hills in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where we had the village, and we all leaned on each other. You know, if we, you know, if one of us had a garden, everybody had something from that harvest coming in. You know, if we had yard work done, I remember Mr. Smart back in the day, he would get like a big bushel of yard mulch or whatever, and he would just say, hey, everybody bring your wheelbarrow down, and you can, you know, work on your yard, or get, you didn't have to pay for anything. Everybody's yard looked good. We all had that same focus, and was able to share some of that expense. People went to college, we all chipped in and made sure. I remember when I went to off of college, man, I was so happy. I got so much money from the community, you know, put in my pocket, and you know, just leaning on each other, having somebody to call when you're going through something. Um, you know, it's that concept, right? And one of the things we're going to talk about today was from one of my favorite magazines, keeping things in the cutting edge psychology today, and it has finding your purpose. So if they want to give me you know, a promotional plug, or you know, endorsement, that'd be fine. Psychology Today. You know, I've given Psychology Today enough money. You know, being out there, but you know, enlisted as one of the therapists in Psychology Today in Michigan and San Antonio. But they have some really good things. So I'm showing that magazine too because it's a good magazine to get if you want to look at the trends and resources and tools of some things in psychology. If you're thinking about doing homeschooling, which right now got to talk about this a little bit. One of the things that me and Ron had talked about is a concern for next year. There's been a lot of cuts to the Department of Education. There's been a lot of things that are going to be changing for next year. One of the things that we're going to put on the radar, we've been ahead of the curve on quite a few things on this show. So one of the things I wanted to put out there is a concern I have is for those kids with special needs next year in the public schools. In particular, kids that are on the spectrum or that have autism, if they're cutting resources, one of the things I'm concerned about is how those kids going to respond when they don't have the parapros or the people that are going to be there to help support those kids in the classroom or in school. If they're cutting from some of that counseling staff, what's going to be the response to that, right?
Yeah.
And I think some kids are going to be, and some parents are going to be considering doing homeschooling. So there's some excellent things in this book on homeschooling. You can take a look at some resources. And if you want to reach out to us, the station, then to Impact. I know some folks that are doing homeschooling. My daughter was homeschooled for a while in Japan. So shout out to Miss Latoya Scott, who was a phenomenal homeschool teacher that welcomed my daughter in. And it was one of the best experiences we had in Japan is having, the Scott family welcome us in and welcome my daughter in. And homeschool. So there are some resources and some advantages to homeschooling, right? And also, talk about safety issues. I'm kind of wondering what's going to be happening this next year, because if you think about it, I remember after COVID, I was working in a school. I'm not going to say the name, but I noticed that some of the kids that were on the spectrum, when they got stressed out, they would just leave the school.
Yeah.
They would just walk off. And we spent a lot of time checking cameras, trying to figure out when they left, where they were going. So my concern, and I'm just going to put it out there right now, is when you have kids that are on the spectrum that sometimes can go off, can sometimes be violent and lash out, and then we've got guns at home, possibly, or access to guns. Parents maybe not there. I see some issues, some potential issues. You can connect the dots the way you want to connect the dots, but I think we need to get ahead of this and make sure that those kids get the supports they need in school. Now that's not a plug for impact counseling. I'm not trying to get funds to go into the schools or anything like that. I want the schools to be funded so that they can get the supports so they don't possibly have to get to an impact because a negative impact has already happened in the school. So we need to reach out to your congressmen, senators, whatever, and say, look, I know you got these things going on. The Department of Education is going through cuts, but we need to make sure our kids are supported in the schools, because if they're not getting it supported in schools, what is going to be the result? And we know that there's cuts that are going on. So just want to kind of raise that red flag, something I'm concerned about, something we've talked about, that if those kids don't get those supports in school, what's going to happen? So we need to reach out ahead of time and say, look, I know these cuts are happening. So how are we going to make sure that we have supports in the schools to support our kids that are special needs, maybe on the spectrum, maybe have some behavioral issues? Because if they don't have those resources, what's those classrooms going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be happening in the schools? And you don't want to put a situation out there where you can cause what some of the efforts I think that are happening, where we can have maybe a perception of lawlessness or a perception of violence that's unnecessary, and we have folks that are effective at helping kids to calm down, diffuse, and are trained in that area, and we've got to have them in the schools. If not, I don't want you can read in between the lines what's going to happen, right?
Well, listen to the news 2 weeks ago. They put out that they are looking for mental health. I don't know how they put it, but they're looking for advisors, somebody coming to the school districts all of a sudden there's money out there for that. And so they did put the call out to anybody that does mental health to get a hold of them. And once I looked into it and read it, it made it sound like that they need people like you, Joseph, to come out there. But what they're looking for, somebody to fill out an application to train them for that.
Sure.
So that's what it was, but it didn't come off like that. So I had to dig into it deeper to find out exactly what it was, and that's what it is. They look for mental health people to come in to fill out an application and be trained on it. And I think we talked last year. We've been talking for years about that. There are more patients than there are mental health people.
Yeah,
It's
and I know for a fact that one of the parts of Impact, we're going to be going into a lot of schools. I've already worked with some board members and things of that nature to get in and doing some training. But again, if we're doing training and there's nobody that can do the interventions, then what good is the training?
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get ahead of that and say, yeah, we can do the trainings, but we got to make sure we have people that are qualified. The teachers are in there teaching, and yes, they can do some of this. But if you got kids that have special needs that are integrated in the schools, you got to make sure that you have the supports to help deal with those kids that are special needs. And if you're cutting whole programs of special education because they're not going to be paying for the parapros, not paying for the special ed teachers, then we have a problem. You can have as much training as you want, but if you don't have the people that can implement that training, then what do you really have?
Yeah, you know,
Right. So that's a part of it. But I'm all for training as
mm-hmm.
long as we have the tools, to implement that training and the people that can implement those tools, once the training happens. And I will be looking at that, and we'll be looking at some things in the next year, this year, to get into the schools and work with some folks in the community to help with this situation, because I do believe we're kind of dancing around a crisis. And I don't want, I'm the type, and even in my military training, you don't want to wait until the crisis happens to try to address the crisis. You
Yeah.
want to try to address it ahead of time. So I want to just raise that red flag and think about, hey, because a lot of people might not even be thinking about, I know the people that have children that are on the spectrum are talking about it. But if you don't, you may not even be, with so many things going on, you can be distracted from something that could be a serious issue down the line. And we go, man, why didn't we see this coming? Or how did this happen? Well, now's the time to address that. Say, hey, we need to make sure we have funds available, people available, resources available for our kids that are on the spectrum. Because look, I don't know if people have noticed. I don't know if people are noticing. There are a lot of kids that are on the spectrum now. A lot of kids. And I'm talking about, not just lightly on the spectrum, where they're acting out, they're having issues in the classroom, they're having issues in the schools, and we've got to have some resources there. That's one of the last things that we can afford to cut with the current climate and the current situation and the gun situation that we have in our society. We've got to kind of get ahead of that before we have more crises that we're dealing with.
Yeah. Two things. The first one is the alternate schools that they ship kids to that's uncontrollable. It can't control them. Control is probably a bad word of saying. It isn't like you're going to do this, but we got kids right there right now that we should have somebody in there talking to right now. And matter of fact, if they would did jumped into it earlier, they wouldn't be where they're at right now. Because part of the problem, we're not looking for those signs in school until they get out of hand, and then they go to an alternate school. The other point is, when we were growing up, we never used the word stressed out. But the kids nowadays, they say I'm stressed out. To me, that's warning sign number one. Is it too much on their plate? Are we doing too much for them? Or social media done took control, and the kids get stressed out on things that's on social media that they can't control.
Well, you got to look at social media since it's become an issue or become a thing. The studies are completely have concluded that social media has definitely had a huge increase in suicidal ideation, aggressive behavior, depression, bullying, you name it. Social media is typically somewhere in the mix with our kids. You know, you call it what do you call it? TikTok challenges, all the crazy stuff that's going on. I've personally seen kids, get prison sentences from things that they put on social media and gone to the school with. So I definitely think social media has to be addressed. And I know I've done some trainings on, and some schools, I think this year implemented that, phones aren't even supposed to be allowed in the schools. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. But what happens when they get home, right? What happens when they're out and about? And a lot of kids, and I've got a teenager, and she seems like she's always on that phone. But guess what? Dad and mom is always on that phone looking to see what she's on, what she's doing, and getting involved with that. But I think, that's one of the things we need to talk about in terms of working with kids is getting kids off the phones and having more FaceTime with family, FaceTime with other kids in person or in groups or in other activities, not on this phone, because social media is a fake world, right? Everybody's putting a fake face on, acting tough, doing stupid stuff for attention, getting their likes. So a lot of children's teen self-esteem is connected to their social media. We noticed, I've been talking about where it's called, I don't know, I think it's called I call it the stare, where kids if you look a lot of young adults, teens, they'll just stare at you, with like a flat effect. When you go into the store or when you go into the mall, whatever, talk to some of these kids, they don't really know how to respond because their social experience has been looking at this phone,
Yeah.
and not learning how to engage or control their nonverbal eye contact, things of that nature. And that's concerning, because, I don't know how many interviews are going to be done online or without FaceTime, you being face to face. But, it's going to be, I think it's a functional issue. We got to work with our kids to put the phone down and start engaging in those nonverbal skills, because that's also a part of mental health as well. If you don't know how to express yourself other than on the phone, you're going to be hard to express yourself when you are hurting or when you're depressed or when you're down. It's going to be hard to transition to saying, hey, I need to talk to somebody when you're not used to talking to people.
Yeah.
So
I got a couple comments on here right now.
sure.
One said definitely the schools are already suffering because some aren't. Some of the teachers are there trying to give that attention. They're not getting that full attention to the students, and because they are just, I keep on bouncing on me, aren't getting paid what they deserve. I agree with that. And then she goes on to say some parents are ignoring it because they say, oh no, nothing's wrong with my child. And then I'm gonna go over here to YouTube. One lady asked, do your services take Medicaid insurance for payments?
Yeah, my service is good. I take Medicaid. I take a wide range of insurance options. So my phone information is there, my website, and you can, go on there. And I think we have most of our insurance is listed, but yeah, I do take Medicaid.
I'm sorry, I said the word medic. She said medical insurance. So it's
Well, you might want to get that right, Ron. There's
yeah.
a difference.
I
There's a
don't know.
difference in Medicaid.
Yeah, it is.
We take medical insurance. So I take medical insurance, and the therapists and folks that will be that are working on my team also take different forms of insurance. So we've got life coaches and therapists that take insurance. That's a good question, because a lot of people don't know that mental health services are a lot of times covered by insurance. So that's definitely something that needs to be out there, and hopefully insurance will still be affordable for a lot of people, But I may have to go back to offering some sliding scale, stuff because some people may not be able to
Right.
afford insurance. We got to let's see what happens over the next couple months. But to answer the question, yes, I take insurance, and there's a lot of folks. You can go to psychology today, and you can find some other folks too that take insurance as well. So
Okay.
that's a good question. To go back to the other question about teachers feeling overwhelmed and parents that are in denial, that's real.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers have an awesome responsibility right now, and I can't even imagine. With the Department of Education kind of being in shambles or being attacked, um, and then knowing that more cuts are coming, the classroom sizes have been growing. It's a lot for the teachers to have to deal with. So that's kind of why I'm on this first thing I started off with is saying that we need to be aware of what's going on with
Yeah.
our kids that are on the spectrum, those kids that are difficult. Because I remember I was CPI trained, being that I was one of those guys that had a radio that when I was in the schools and the kid was acting out, we had to, you know, sometimes pull them out of the classroom and actually educate a parent on what's really going on with their child. And sometimes parents, want to blame the teacher, and sometimes the teacher may be needing some help with classroom management and all that. But sometimes it's an issue going on with your child, and we had to have some real frank conversations. If your child, if you're being called up to the school 4 or 5, 6 times a week, or 3 or 4, or every week, it might not be the the school, it might be your child.
Yeah.
You might have to look at that, and especially if it's in different classes in the hallway, at lunchtime, when it's at break time and recess. If your child is getting all these different times things are going on, and let's just be real, parents sometimes are in denial, but they know what's going on with their child because if it's a consistent behavior, it's happening at home and it's happening at school. So if you're having a hard time dealing with them at home, he's probably or she's probably not going to turn into an angel when they get to school.
That's true. Let me throw something out there.
Mhm.
The way things are going nowadays, we were always told, at least when I was growing up, it starts at home. Whatever you're doing to your kids, it starts at home for them to be productive in school.
Sure.
But let's fast forward to where we're at right now. Some parents, it doesn't matter if you're a single parent or you got two parents in the household, you have to work 2 and 3 jobs where you don't have that quality time to spend at home with your kids because you're too busy trying to put food on the table. And it isn't that you're being neglected, it's just reality sets in. You got to have the jobs in order for your household to function. So who lose out on it? The kids.
Mhm.
They lose out on that structure around there. So how can parents, um, how can I put it? How can they use their time wisely to make sure that the kids get that attention that they need?
Well, a couple of things that you can do is make sure that your kids are in after school programs. If you're working later, making sure that you have after school programs. There's programs with a lot of the fraternal sorority organizations that can give some of that instruction, give some of that mentorship and that village experience in terms of helping your child to network with other kids that are trying to do better in school, matriculate to secondary education, trade school, not secondary, but college, trade school, whatnot. But getting them in functions like we had the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. There's what is it, the four? What was called? Shoot, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's the 4-H club. That's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
4-H club, Boys and Girls clubs. Sometimes you have to find some extra activities for the kids to get involved in if you're going to be occupied or working. And it's hard. It's hard to try to navigate some of these, and there's costs with some of these as well. So I get it. But on some of these, I know for our program, and here The Kappa League, there's a minimal cost, but there's college trips, there's community service events, there's activities, mentorship, opportunities. So you got to look for some opportunities like that to try to get some mentorship so that, folks can help you to be accountable. Like I said, when I was, I talk about Auburn Hills all the time in Grand Rapids, but we had a lot of accountability. We had a lot of people that were watching, making sure that we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. Like Mr. Smart, he was checking up on everybody. But one of the reasons I'm a Kappa today, he was a Kappa, found out that he was a noob, but knew that he was always involved with the community, and he knew you, he knew your parents, he knew, you know, uh, when your parents were at school, and he was an administrator for
Hmm.
years and just a community leader, and he was involved. So finding those folks that are involved, that are willing to spend some time with the kids, and that's one of the things that we need to do more of, is get more involved with our youth, get more involved with the kids, and they need to see us. They need to see us in the schools. They need to see us involved in the parent teacher conferences. Those that can go need to be involved so that they can have more input, influence on what our kids are experiencing. Community organizations, we need to support them so that there are some outlets for our kids that are productive, that we control, that we're involved in. So that kind of goes into what this was talking about, in psychology today, and how we can kind of weather this storm and things that are going on, is that we can kind of find some purpose. And I think that's a very good purpose. Probably the most important purpose we have is finding something that we are good at. We all
Yeah.
have some skill, some trade, something that we can spend time investing back to the kids. If we're good with our hands, drawing, we've got some type of skills that we can, go and invest some time with the kids. We definitely need to do that. They need to see us. They need to see us and be connected with us in some capacity, so they know that, number one, we care, but two, that they can pick up a skill. You never know,
Yeah. You know,
you know.
you just said something right there. We used to have Big Brothers program. We used to have all that. But the problem is right now, finding the resources.
Mm,
They're
mm,
out there. They seem
right.
like they're closed away. You got to dig to find it. And I'm digging right now. And I'm finding resources left and right and going to start sharing it with everybody. But that's
There you
part
go.
of the problem. There are resources out there for anything you could think of.
Yeah,
But getting
yeah,
that resource, it's like I'm finding somebody to write a grant letter for you. That's how difficult it is. You can't
no.
find the resources are there. So the resources never pop up until that child gets in trouble.
Well,
And
the
it,
thing is, do they pop up, or are people really looking for them until there's a problem?
well, actually, the courts know the resources because
Oh,
I,
do they?
I talked to a couple of judges already, and they have told me when they come to me, I want to help them out, and I know I'm gonna punish them, but I want to help them out about the resources, so they know where the resources are, and that's why I'm hitting up so I get some of the resources to me to spread. But why is it we have to wait for them to go to court, and all of a sudden there's resources, when we know there's resources out there right now? It's just hard to find them, and that's
Well,
the problem.
I think that, like I said, again, I'm gonna hit on our Divine Nine group. Most fraternities and sororities have a mentorship program for the youth. So if you can start there, look up your local chapter of Kappas, Omegas, Alphas, whatever, and see what groups they have. And they usually have a group for the little ones as well as for the teens. So that's one resource. Going to your school counselors and asking, hey, what resources, what programs do you have that are free, that are inexpensive? Getting the kids involved in sports, getting the kids involved in some. Don't just let them come home and get on a video game or get on social media. Have them outside, have them in an activity where they can get those skills and they can get those social skills that they need. But you can actually contact, um, the court, before, if your child doesn't even have to be in trouble, find out contact the court, contact agencies like Impact. And I have no problem looking up some resources for kids because, again, I would much rather be proactive than reactive, right?
Yes.
So that your child, well, if you don't know, sitting on the iPhone and sitting on, or the Android, whatever, and on the computer, that's not enough activity. It's just not. And you don't have any idea a lot of times what images, what messages, what they're looking at half the time. And that's where the problems are coming in, where if you have structured events and things that are going on, so after school programs, some of them can be expensive, right? But some of them, some programs, like the Boys and Girls Club, I don't know if there's one here in San Antonio, I haven't looked it up, but if there is, we need to start plugging our kids into that. So that's a challenge, Ron. Let's get a list of resources for our youth and put it on the site somewhere. And you can always contact me. I have a list of different mentorship programs. Obviously, I'm a plug the Capital League program because I've been involved with that when I was in San Antonio, and there's the Guide Rate program in general. Just look it up. So you can look up the Guide Rate program, look up the Divine Nine, every fraternity, sorority, the Zetas. I'm sure they have a mentorship program for the girls, and they're also connected to the Sigmas constitutionally. So they have both males and female fraternal and sorority organizations together. So I'm sure they have something for the males and females. So we just have to, look for things before there's an issue, and just know that our young men and women need to have mentorship. They really need to have that, and we need to find the resources out here that are doing that. I said it again, Guide Right Capital League, but all the Divine Nine have mentorship programs, right? So look at them, look and see what resources are out there, and let's connect it.
Just as you were saying that, I have one that's saying in partnership with National Association of Black Military Women, South Texas member at large. They have something going on this Saturday.
Okay.
And it's the East Side Clubhouse Boys and Girls Club of San Antonio at 3503 Martin Luther King Drive. They have something going on with the youth that day, and it's from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that may be something to look at. When you just said that, I remember this flyer right here that they put out, and it's got boys and girls on there. So, yes, that's something. See, you got me looking. I'm glad I did see that earlier.
There you go. So there we go. See, the Boys and Girls Club, listen, we've got resources out there, but we have to use them. We have to support them, and we have to know about them, right? So
Yeah.
that's the thing. Don't wait until there's an issue, and then then you send them to me, and that's fine. I have no problem working with the youth. That's one of the things the Impact is designed to do. But let's get some resources. Let's get some supports, some activities. And the Boys and Girls Club is phenomenal at bringing different opportunities, activities to help them cultivate, into is it sports? Is it some? They have electronics, keyboard, computers, all kind of stuff there. And they usually have in Michigan. Shout out to Remo, one of my fraternity brothers that ran the Boys and Girls Club up there. They had a ham radio operator that would come, and talk about radio frequencies and computer program. We had all kind of stuff going on up there. So, there's a lot of resources out there. Plug your children in. It'll give you an opportunity to have a break, some time to yourself, maybe work a little additional time. If they're, a lot of times the school will sometimes bus kids over to these programs,
Right.
So those are some things that you can look into. And then also, there's also mental health supports. If something's going on, a lot of times they will refer kids to a person like myself that handles, have mentorship opportunities as well as understands the mental health issues that are going on and aware with what's going on with social media and the challenges facing our youth. But, good conversation, man. That's how we strengthen the village, because if we don't have those supports for our kids, trust me, there's other things out there that want to gain their attention that we don't want them looking at and focused on.
Somebody brought up one thing. We're talking about the resource for the kids. What
Hmm.
about the parents that have these troubled kids? What resources will be out there for them to go to so they can help, with your child? Because it's got to be something out there for them to even cope with what's going on in their life. Because once the child is there, be honest with you, that sort of upsets the whole household. Because if you got three kids in your family, you got one that's acting out. Your focus gonna be on that one that's acting out. You're gonna forget about the other ones.
Well,
You're so busy worried about making sure this child is all right.
yeah, well, there are resources out there. There's organizations like Impact. We have been working with children that have behavioral issues for years, and kind of getting them out back in alignment with what needs to be done. So now that I'm back in the United States, I'm sure that I'll be back engaged with that. So when kids are suspended, I've had contracts with school systems where they've had to do 5 sessions, and then we follow up with them for the rest of the year. But so there's programs like Impact. You can go contact Psychology Today and look online and see different therapists that work with kids that have behavioral issues, anger issues, and sometimes it's a matter of family therapy, right? Sometimes it's not just the child. Maybe there's something going on in that household that's affecting that child in a certain way. So we got to look at what's going on, and maybe there's some things what's the underlying issue or problem that's there. And so looking at the psychological aspect, having an assessment done, and figuring out, hey, what is really going on? Why is the child acting out? Not just looking
Yeah.
at the behavior, but looking at the cause.
And son just put down, and this is a good point. This person just put down. What about we have kids raising kids?
I mean, it's right there. It's right there. When you have kids raising kids, um, can I say that it's even more important to have that mentorship there, because that's an awesome responsibility. And it's not one that is ideal, but let's just be real. We've had a lot of families that the kid, because mom or you have a single parent home, the kids had to take on the role of a pseudo parent, so to speak, and helping with the chores of cooking and watching younger siblings. And it's not ideal, right? Especially with social media there, to cause all kind of havoc in
Yeah.
situations. So I think that mentorship is essential. Finding programs for the kids to go to spend some of that time, and you know it's difficult, man. And also let's call on our churches to be more
Yes.
involved as well. There's programming, there's community rooms. A lot of these churches have. I can't think of a better place where a lot of our youth to be is in a good, program, church program that's spirit filled and spirit led for our youth. So let's start going back to some of those things that we were doing back in the day, with the churches and the community organizations, Boys and Girls Club, different athletic opportunities, mentorship programs. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and that's why I kind of want to, before we run out of time, touch base with WSAN Psychology Today, because they have some really good things in here about homeschooling, which may be an option for a lot of parents. There's resources if you want to engage in that with what's going on in the schools. If we have an issue, if we don't address the issue of supporting our kids, we might start having some behavioral issues in school, and it may be that we have to pull some of our kids out of school, and start looking at homeschool options, and making sure that they're in the type of environment that they can get the values and the knowledge and the information that they need to be successful. Not everybody is going to be able to homeschool. I get it. I can hear parents go, "Not my, I'm not, I ain't doing that." But listen, there's co-ops, there's places that you can look up where there's people that are homeschooling, and you might be able to, do that. That's what we did kind of in Japan. The Scott family was, doing homeschooling, and she did a phenomenal job with my daughter, and when she got back to the States, she's ahead, and she goes to a science and technology school, and she's ahead of the game because of the value and the things and the lessons. Now, we had a phenomenal teacher there, and but I would imagine there's a lot of phenomenal teachers out there in the community that we may have to start looking at. So take a look at Psychology Today, and take a look at what's there. There's some great opportunities for building social skills development, and making sure that you're instilling those values, those Christian values, spiritual values in your child, and you don't have all the nonsense that's being pushed, as well. So there's some advantages to that, right? But a couple of things I wanted to, besides the homeschooling, I want to talk about this thing on purpose, right? This was the title of the book for Psychology Today. But having a sense of purpose, it contributes to your overall health, well-being, and happiness, right? So how do people find their purpose, right? And what is purpose? Well, I think during this time when that's one of those things that you can control, is trying to figure out kind of what your purpose is, what you want to do out of life, what brings you joy, what brings you some sense of happiness. And it laid out some really good things. One of the things we could do to help build a village is find those tools, those things we're passionate about, we're good at, and that can help enhance and build our personal village, right? One of the things we call you already know, we call you the Black MacGyver. Ron is the guy. You're right. If something's going on in the house, you don't know what it is. Hey, he's already not only knows what it is, but he can fix it with a screwdriver, no matter what it is. So that I've seen that happen. But that's just an example. My issue, my talent is obviously working with mental health and therapy and problem solving and relationships and all that type of stuff. Now, I'm not saying you do all this stuff for free. What I'm saying is you identify yourself in your village as this is my skill set, and that can be a part of your purpose. And you can start to help to build community, help us to become stronger, because that's the time we're in right now. We are in an age, or we're in a time right now where there's a lot of things going on that they kind of remind me of like the 60s and prior to that, with efforts of breaking down the community where we can actually lean on each other now. And I have to give a shout out to our community. I'm talking about right now, the African American community. We haven't taken the bait as a whole.
Right.
We're not out there acting crazy. We're not rioting. We're not doing stupid stuff. And that is power. That's power. And I know for a fact that a lot of people are actually concerned about that. They thought we were going to do something different when the efforts of attacking Dr. King and, and his legacy, this whole thing about DEI and all that, whatever. I'm not going to get too much into it, but we didn't fall for the bait. Mm-mm. And I pray that we never fall for the bait and we continue to build our community. And that starts with finding our purpose, finding our talents, and cultivating those and getting into a smaller community village group and looking out for each other. I think that would be a good tradition to take from this. Figure out how to kind of push our youth to get in a trade, a skill set, so they can take care of themselves, and find their passion, so they can be financially secure, like those of us that have been in a trade or been in a profession, and give those roadmaps. So we've got opportunities to do that. Finding that purpose will help you enrich your life and also enrich the community. And it's excellent for your mental health as well as your well-being. So that purpose piece is important. So just some other statistics from this, and if you get the magazine, Psychology Today, it starts on page 26, where it talks about, the benefits of purpose. But just a little fun fact, 91% of people at some point experience purpose anxiety. Isn't that interesting? 91% of people experience purpose anxiety, like, hey, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to be doing in this life? And a couple things to kind of experience or kind of help you figure that out is look at your passions. Look at what you're naturally interested in. Also look at what you've gone through in life and how you have moved through it. If you've got how you become resilient, if you become if you're successful in getting through trauma and things of that nature, then you have a roadmap to helping people. You know, I know personally had gone through a lot of things in my early childhood, gone through things, and so I'm able to help people now that I've got the education, formal education and experience. It helped me to understand what my purpose was, right? So helping you to find your purpose, helping you to get out there and work on being an asset and making an impact in the community, I think is a very important thing that we can all work on and try to do. And that's another thing too you can do with psychology. You can reach out to us and we can kind of help you set some goals and help you to define and figure out kind of what your, I don't know what your I don't want to say a therapist help you find your purpose, but we can definitely help you identify some barriers to you not getting your purpose or living in your purpose or living a happier life, and seeing what things are in the way that you might not be able to see so that you can find your purpose.
I would piggyback off that, find your purpose, or also find that gift that God gave you.
Same thing.
You could turn around and have that gift, and some of you don't know what your gift is at the time, but look at the things that you do good all the time.
Right.
It's
right.
gonna be it's gonna be your gift right there, and you could build off that. A positive way of doing that is like I told somebody the other day, they got a hobby. They do these things for people around the neighborhood and do all that. I say, that's a good hobby you have right there. You ever thought about turning that into a business?
That's it.
You
That's
know?
it. That's the type of thing that right now we can take time to look at. You might not be able to control everything that's going on in DC or other areas, but you can definitely control what you are focusing on right now. And if you have a passion, a talent, turn it into something that you would love to do, and maybe make a profit, make it into a business, make it into an LLC. I just saw here earlier you had the black contractors person on a
Yes.
little while ago. Look,
Vivian, yes.
Vivian, there are a lot of opportunities out here for entrepreneurs, and that's the one thing they can't take from you is your own business. You can't be fired from your own business. Well, you can if you don't work your business, right? If you
Yeah.
or you're not really good at that business. But if you find that thing that you would do, whether you are paid for it or not, they can help other people, be it working in the house, helping with families, helping with products, whatever, designing things. I got a cousin that was phenomenal at drawing, and he went ahead and started designing clothes. And now he's designing clothes for me, other professional athletes. It's amazing. Shout out to Reggie, Reg Clothesline. As a matter of fact, I got a jacket and a sweater coming that I can't wait to wear here soon. So, finding ways to enhance and build your village, enjoy your life in your passion, and then showing that pathway to our youth, because there's so many opportunities out here if you know how to look for them.
Yeah.
And you got to look at this too. There has been some attacks on some professions that are really interesting to me. Why is it that all of a sudden there was attacks on nursing? That nursing is now all of a sudden not a profession. My wife is an RN, and all I can tell you is, show me another career where you can go to school for 2 years and get six figures.
Yep.
I don't know too many of them. So I don't know what's going on other than it seems like there's an attempt to reset the opportunities and kind of hide some of the pathways that so many folks have been successful at. And we can't fall for the foolishness. Those of us that know the keys and the locks need to make sure to opportunity and economic empowerment and freedom, we need to make sure those are out there. One of those is creating businesses. Another one is finding those fields and trades and professions that you know, are going to allow our kids to get secure financially quickly and be able to hold their own and chart their own pathway. Because it looks like way things are headed, that's going to be essential.
Yep.
That's going to be essential, right? So maybe your goal and maybe your gift is guiding people to the right professions, guiding you, spending time, mentorship. I know that's one of the things I love doing is saying, hey, look, instead of getting this degree in basket weaving 101, you
Yep.
need to look at a getting a trade, HVAC. There's a
That.
million houses here in San Antonio. And guess what? Each one of them need air conditioning and each one of them need heat. So
Mm-hmm.
last time I checked, that's a six-figure income right there. So those are the type of things that we need to and maybe people find their purpose and their role in terms of mentoring our youth, mentoring your own youth at home and saying, look, you got to go to school, get this education, and you're going to get a trade before you leave this house.
There you
You're going to
go.
learn how to do something so that you can take care of yourself in case something happened to us. And if we don't talk about nothing else, maybe that's what we need to talk about right now because guaranteed, if you don't have finances, you're going to have some type of mental illness. You're going to have depression when you can't pay them bills, and you're going to have anxiety every time it comes time to pay the bills. So, let's focus on some financial empowerment, getting our youth what they need to get. And, they gotta be at a certain level and understand they're not going to school to look cute. They're not going as some of my elders just say, you're not going to school to be cool. You're going to school to get an education. Now, what does that mean? The education isn't just there for you to just read books and just get knowledge. It's so that you get a job, a job,
That's
a
right.
career, an opportunity. So I think we need to start with that and understand that's a key part of the village. In my village, everybody was working. In Grand Rapids, in Auburn Hills, we had blue collar, we had white collar, we had administrators, we had lawyers, we had dentists, we had everything there. You can pick one and go talk to them and see how you can become successful. But don't just get lost in. Well, see, we didn't have social media, thank God, when I was coming up, and get lost in the foolishness. So much information, so little wisdom is what our kids are getting in the social media. So hopefully we all can find a call in some of these organizations, nonprofits, community organizations, fraternal or sorority organizations. If you have crossed the burning sands, get back involved. Now is the time. And then I would say get involved in your mentorship program, and I guarantee you will appreciate it. These kids are looking for us. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this. Our males, African American males, when we walk in that school, it's a different level of attention that we get.
Mm-hmm.
And those kids are looking and listening to us in a way that they're not looking and listening to other kids. That's actually one of the reasons I got into this profession. When I got out of the military, I was being a substitute teacher, and the department head for psychology at Western Michigan University's husband saw how the kids were responding to me. And they were like, hey, you need to look into that. So my first goal becoming get my license as a therapist was to become a licensed school counselor. And then I started to see all the other issues that were being presented from being a licensed school counselor to becoming a licensed therapist. And I went more into that route because I ended up doing more therapy than I did school counseling. And so and that's how it works. And that's actually what I gravitated towards, and I found my calling in that. But I think now's the time. Look, you can't control everything that's going on, but you can control how you respond. And this is now a good time, kind of like COVID, where you kind of just say, look, I can't control all that, but I can get involved when I need to. When it's time to vote, I'm definitely going to make my voice heard then. But I'm also now going to work on my community, since we seem to have this connection now. We're not falling for the foolishness. We're not jumping out there and acting ignorant. So I want, again, whatever mental wave we got going right now, I want to continue that and just say, look, now where do we want to go from here? Because now we see what opposition is out there. We see what the goal is. It's real plain. It's one of that's if anything is a silver lining about what's going on right now. The obvious has made us aware of what we need to be doing and how we need to move now.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you this right now too. My passport is my peace. Well, part of my peace. My peace is where's my Bible at? That's my peace. But I had to say that because look, going to Japan and seeing that society and how it functions, I'll never be the same. My wife will never be the same. My child will never be the same. We know there's another way of business that's being conducted. How communities hold together, and that's a way of life.
Yeah.
And we need to go back to that. We had some of that in the 60s. It started to move away, now, but I think it's starting to come back. I'm seeing more community connectiveness. We need to see ourselves as part of a worldwide community, not just locked into what the United States says we are. We are part of a worldwide community, and we need to take a look at that. Look at how far your dollar goes in other countries. Take a look at this. Go on YouTube, right? Take a look at. Shout out to the Yarborough YouTube channel. My brother Rondell and April's my sister there. Take a look at their blog, their YouTube channel, and see how people are living worldwide. You do not have to just fixate your eyes on everything that's going on here. When you can travel, you can go to other places and experience other things. And for the youth, I highly recommend you take a look at that. You can always keep your roots here. I'm not saying to give up being an American. What I'm saying is give up on just seeing life through an American perspective.
Yes.
Because
that part.
There's definitely some healthier options, especially for Black and brown. There's definitely some healthier perspectives out there than what we're presented with here in this country. I'm not saying don't give up the fight. What I'm saying is go and get some rest. Go get some perspective. And learn how to do that psychologically. Meditation, mindfulness. Those things are very important. Now, there's some other things I want to get into today, but we don't have time. But the 7 power moves of 2026. I wanted to get into that. It's on page 38. If you get the magazine, we can talk about it briefly. I'm going to go through it since we got a little time. 7 power moves psychologically for 2026. Number 1, dabble. Dabble in those things that you used to love. If you used to love painting, go ahead and start. You don't have to paint a Picasso. Just get into it again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you liked doing karaoke, get your karaoke going again. That's a hint. I'm about to get back out to. But anyway, so do your thing. Whatever that thing that brought you joy, that was healthy, go ahead and dabble in it. Find some other hobbies. Find some other things that will help you to expand your mind and grow. Go back to Barnes & Noble, get some books. Start, whatever that is. If you used to play music, do that. Dabble in it a little bit. Dabble in different things and enjoy your life. Now this one, I got it. This is probably going to get a whole bunch of people talking about it, but I didn't write this, but this is one of the things that they said start doing for 2026. And let me get to the right page. I want to give the right lady's information out, the name. So there she is, Nicole McNichols said, don't complain about your sex life. Ask for what you want. If you have an intimate party, you're married, don't complain, because complaining causes the person to shut down. Just ask for what you want. Now, let me give a precursor. Now, talking to some folks, if you're not in a position to ask because you being, a problem in your relationship, you probably can't ask so much because the mood probably ain't right for you to ask for anything, right? So I'm not saying, I'm not talking to just everybody, but I'm talking to people that are in a healthy relationship. Instead of complaining about things and whatever, ask for what you want, right? And that's what Dr. Nicole McNichols has said is what you need to do. Don't complain about sex, just ask for what you want, right? And we're talking about married folks, and we talk about, I'm a Christian, so I'm like to talk about married folks, but there's other folks out there in committed relationships. That's what she's saying to do. I hope that you'll get married as well. All right. So the other thing is, number 3, change your personality. Now, what does that mean? As a therapist, what are you saying, Joe? You telling me to get a psychological disorder or a personality disorder? No. If you see something that is working for somebody, if you see a demeanor or a way a person talks that is getting the results that you want, try that personality on. That's what they're saying. If you see, if your way of, shouting at people and responding is not getting you the results you want, or you're feeling anxious, you're not feeling good about it, try on the personality of the person that you think is more effective, and try that as a mode to kind of make yourself grow and be healthier. What's the other one here? Now, this one is complicated, but I'm going to try to say it. It's called body doubling. Now, what does that mean? Body doubling. So if you've been in college and you go to the library with somebody and they're studying and you're studying, and it just kind of helps you to stay focused, right? So same thing with Zoom. Have a Zoom meeting with a person. You can cut the mic off and you're working on projects. They're working on a project. It just, something happens when both of you are engaged and working, maybe not even on the same thing, but it will help you to stay more effective and accomplish more with called body doubling. So that was that one. Also, hug, doing hugging more. So with your significant other, just hugging, and an actual hug should be 5 to 10 seconds. So with your significant other, when you get home, try hugging more. Now, keep in mind, this also requires you to be in a healthy relationship. So, don't just walk up and bear hug somebody and y'all haven't been getting along, but perhaps that's an avenue that will help you to get along and say, hey, sweetheart, I want to hug when we come home, when we greet each other, instead of, just going by each other and not speaking or whatever, or barely talking in any kind of contact. So I thought that was a good one. Now, wow, this one is a complicated one. It says stop boomer asking. So what was boomer asking? I had to read this a couple of times to make sure I got this one down. But boomer asking is, people that ask questions so that they can talk about what they want to talk about. That's boomer asking. Okay. So they'll ask a question. I'll give you an example. So what are your summer, somebody asks you, what are your summer plans? And you go, oh, well, I don't really know, whatever. But then they go, oh, well, I'm headed to, the Alfari Coast, or I'm headed to, Paris for the summer. Well, that was the real reason why they asked that question, right? It wasn't that they were really asking you so they can find out what you're doing for your summer. They were really asking because they wanted to tell you that they're going to Paris. Yes. That is a huge, huge turnoff. Stop boomer asking in 2026 is what they said.
I'm writing this one down because this is a good one.
Yeah, stop boomer asking.
Boomer asking.
Yeah, if you're going to brag, just go ahead and brag. But stop boomer asking, because that has the opposite effect. Stop boomer asking. The last one, and this one I can definitely say, trying to get all these self maintenance and good tips. Go to grown up camp. Go to grown up camp. Now, what is grown up camp? So when I was at college, when I was teaching up at Grand Rapids Community College, we had this Fetzer Institute out there where you go and they have a facilitator who was a therapist. He was a psychologist. They would facilitate these groups of self-care, and we would stay in our own little individual hermitages, which were cabins. And we were just getting connected to nature, no electronics, just healing and relaxing from detoxing from society, so to speak. There's a lot of different self-care camps like that. If not, maybe we need to put one of those together. I know that we some of my colleagues here in San Antonio had some things like weekend conferences where you go and you just kind of focus on your well-being, your health, your de-stressing, and also doing some self building, work. So those are what's called the adult camps. Now there's also some churches do men's conferences, same thing, right? Where I know that I go to CBC here in San Antonio, they always have a phenomenal men's conference. Stay for a couple of days, get into the Word, and focus on developing your spiritual strength and getting closer with God. Now you can do. There's other programs like that. Look for those. We might even try to do like a conference, a mental health conference. I'm thinking about doing a Zoom if people are interested in that, where we can just take a couple minutes, get some coffee, and we talk about whatever people want to talk about. I can make some recommendations, make some referrals. We'll have myself, Craig Washington, maybe get Martha on there, some of the other folks in the Impact Collaboration, and just be available to talk to folks one-on-one or in a group, what they want to bring up or talk about, right? So call into the channel, let us know. The first one, we're going to do this for free, where we just get people on, just talk about what you want to talk about on a Zoom, maybe go to a conference. That one we'll probably have to charge for because it's going to be at a hotel. We'll get a conference room and we'll talk about whatever we need to talk about. And you can kind of pamper yourself, go to the spa, go, get in the pool, whatever you want to do. And you have mental health professionals taking you through some workshops to kind of help you with whatever issue you want to work with. So we can do that type of stuff. Let us know. We can put that together. But for right now, get away. Go get away. I know you got away for New Year's.
Yes.
Ron, listen, that's what I'm talking about. Getting away. But there are some structured places you can go and where they have events and relationship building. Me and my wife, when I was in the military, we went to a couples retreat where you work on your relationship and all that. When I first got married, and we still use a lot of that stuff that we went at a nice place on the beach and walked along the beach and talked about those things that they presented. So do some self-care like that. If you want some more recommendations, call in and I'll see what I can find, or we can put something together, depending on what people need out there. But that's good recommendation from Psychology Today.
Okay. Before you leave, somebody asked again. What is Boomer asking?
So you're gonna make me. I told you I had to read that thing 2 or 3 times. But, Boomer asking is when you're asking, but you're really just trying to brag, right? So you ask about something and you're really just trying to put out there what you're going to do. So the example they gave was, so what are you doing this summer? And then the person says, well, they're doing the summer, but before you can even get it out good, the person that asked is saying, well, hey, I'm going to Paris this summer. Well, that's the real reason you asked. And you didn't really care what I was doing that summer. you were just wanting to say that I'm going to Paris. Well, just go ahead and say you're going to Paris. And brag. And then if you want to brag, just brag.
And they take over the conversation after that too.
That's the other part.
Yep.
So that's one of those traits of toxic. It's a toxic trait. And if I'm hitting some people over the head, maybe even including myself, then so be it. Don't ask if you just want to brag. Just go ahead and brag.
Yeah. Hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Well, one final thing is, Mr. Craig Washington says he had a questionnaire to help people find their gift. So we got to get that from Craig Washington so we could go over that.
Yes. Hey, listen, go to Guided Ministries and go to our the Impact Counseling page, this right here, and page somewhere over here. Yeah, right there. And go to Craig Washington's page, and he'll be able to get that to you directly for people to find their purpose, find their gift. That's a key part of finding your purpose. And like they said, by finding your purpose, it's already linked to a healthier lifestyle, to be happier, being happy, and also longevity. So what it's saying is you will live longer if you have a purpose. And I can 100% attest to that, because in Okinawa, Japan, they have a concept that everybody has a purpose. So that's one of the reasons why when you go around in Japan, everywhere is clean, because you got somebody about 85, 90 years old gets up in the morning and they pick up areas in front of their place. They go to other places, clean up, and they take pride in their environment. That's part of their purpose, right? But everybody finds a purpose. And if you can look on the map, you can check it out. Okinawa, Japan has the longest living people on Earth. And I forgot the term for what they used to call it, for a purpose, but everybody there, all the older folks, they find out their purpose. Everybody there's no such thing as, I'm just going to take care of me. And also their community, talk about village.
Yeah.
If everybody's a part of a community, and if somebody gets sick, the community pays their bills.
Ooh.
They pay their medical bill.
I like that. Talking about keeping
Now
things.
think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pay the bill, they take care of their house for them. You know what I'm saying? It's a part that it's I know we can't get there right now, but we need to. That's what I'm saying. They really show you what community is about in some of these countries, because there is no such thing as Social Security. They are their Social Security.
Mm.
There is no such thing as Medicaid. They're their own Medicaid. But then also, let's be real, their prices are a lot lower than ours over here, right? But the concept is what I'm talking about, purpose. Finding purpose in each other, lifting each other up, connecting with each other. We got to get back to that.
Yes.
That's how we make it through this stuff that's going on. You can do that. Find some people that are in your circle. And let me just give some rules about being in a circle, because I know some people are going to be like, man, why can't I find a circle? Why can't I get in a circle? You have to bring something to the circle other than being a drag on the circle. Now, what do I mean by that? Don't talk negativity all the time. Nobody wants to talk to someone that's always negative. So find something positive in the day to talk about. Don't always talk about what's going on in the news. Everybody knows it. Well, some people don't know it, but we do need to be aware, but don't dwell on it and let that be your whole conversation, right?
Right.
So, when you want to be in a village, bring something to the village, find that thing that you go to Craig's page, get that information, find out what your purpose is, that thing that you like to do. If you like to cook, if you like to, if you sing, if you make clothes, if you are great with equipment, if you can repair things, if you could be, there's only one Black MacGyver, but if you could be a apprentice Black MacGyver, if you could, whatever it is that you do that for the village. If you're good at gardening, if you're good at yard work, if you're good, you got to be good at something. And if not, find something that you enjoy, that you'll do for free, and find a way to get paid for it, but then find a way to bless your village. And that's how you become a part of a village. And if your personality is your gift, you know how to make people laugh, that's your gift, right? If you know how to tell great stories, that's your gift. If you just can be present for somebody, just for them to talk to you and tell you what their problem is, and they'll refer them to a therapist.
Yeah.
Hello. Because you're not trained in that issue, just be in that. But it's something that everybody can give to be a part of a village. And financially, if you're blessed financially, don't be a sucker, but you can help out.
That's right.
If we all need to lean on each other sometimes. So, I had to go old school. I had to be a little street. Don't be a sucker. Don't be a fool for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if every week they got a problem you can help with, look, I can help you maybe once or twice, but a third time, hey, it's a habit.
There you go.
And we got to address the issue. And I'm not going to help you with a whole lot, because I don't believe in borrowing. I'm just going to give you what I'm going to give you. because I don't do that. That's another thing. But you can help out in the village. We can lean on each other, but don't abuse it. That's the other part. Don't abuse being in the village. All right. So that's Village 101. Right?
Okay.
Enhancements and hey, if anybody is interested in that co-op where we get on and talk about different things on the Zoom call, and then maybe figure out a place to go to do some workshops or whatnot for self-care. Hey, we got to take care of ourselves during this time. That's the only way we're going to make it through these next 3 years. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Let me go ahead and do this to end the show.
Tune in every Thursday at 11 a.m. on WSAN Radio for the Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, where real conversations lead to real change. Joseph Lee is a licensed therapist with over 15 years of experience, and each week he brings practical guidance, clear insight, and solutions you can use to navigate stress, anxiety, relationships, family pressures, and the challenges we're facing in today's world. Today's discussion pulls from Psychology Today magazine and other trusted resources because your mental health matters and your community matters. Have a topic you want us to cover? Reach out to WSAN Radio and let's talk. Let's break the silence, strengthen our families, and make a positive impact together. The Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, Thursdays at 11 a.m., only on WSAN Radio, the soul of America and beyond.
All right, sir. We got that all
Tune in
covered.
every Thursday at 11.
Say it again.
You're
Slow down.
remixing now.
Yeah, slow down. Okay, we'll be back next Thursday. Okay, let's not get happy.
All right. Hey, and listen, I got to end it with another thing too. Your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. Always look at people's actions, and then you don't have to you don't have to worry about what they're saying. If your actions don't match up, you know what to pay attention to.
Yes.
So your actions are speaking loudly again, Ron. Hey, I'm glad to be back on the show. Glad to have the show back on. And people write in, man. Hey, listen, this is for the community. I got other things I could be doing, but I'd rather do this because I want to get the messages out there, the things out there that I'm seeing in the field. And, we got a lot of tools and things when to get to you. I got some things on kidney disease we're going to be talking about soon. Got some announcements and some things we're putting together. You know about my struggle. I don't think the audience knows about that. But I'm gonna introduce it a little bit later. But we got to really pay attention to this kidney disease out
Yes,
here.
sir.
And there's phenomenal things going on. I'm gonna shout out without going into too much detail, but Craig Washington, who is really being a blessing. And we're gonna get into all of this. We're gonna lay it all out, and we're gonna talk about that too. And that's coming up in the next couple weeks.
All right, sir. We appreciate you coming on, and we will catch you next week. We're gonna be at it again. It's gonna be weekly,
Thursday.
everybody.
That's right. All right.
Every Thursday, 11 a.m. All right, Joseph. Thank you for coming on board today.